how hard did you push it till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, Municipals? This is Ashton and not Big C. I'm here with two friends, one returning guest, one new guest, to talk about the delightful Golden Gate Park 9 that we got to play recently, in which by the time this comes out, hopefully will be open to the public. But the one thing we are not going to talk about is an opening date, because that is the one thing that we cannot totally confirm and we don't totally know yet. But first, we got Aaron back. Aaron, the last time you were on, you had just broken par, trending down. How are you doing? And is
trending
that
back up?
Case? Yes,
we are trending back up. Game is okay. We're in the winter doldrums. Some good, some bad. Sometimes the bad are really just can't put up with the rain. Sometimes the bad is just I'm tired. But still probably playing around the same, like 4-ish. What do you think? Yeah, maybe once 1.5 a week, I like to call it. And actually, I just got out with Ben earlier today a little bit and quickly ended our round at the 11th hole. So.
Oh no! Well, I'm assuming weather related, or was it?
Yeah,
did someone win 9 and 8?
I would have loved for either of us to have had that happen. It was just weather. We just couldn't take the rain anymore. It was too much.
I understand. Well, we're almost there, boys. I think after today we should be good. But yeah, first time, Ben Coldy, welcome. Ben, it's a lot of talking to you, but the first time doing so on camera.
Happy to be here. I've listened to plenty of episodes in the past, and you've forced me into trying courses in the area that I wouldn't have tried. So glad to be on and talking a little bit about Golden Gate Park.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, Ben, like we always like to do, just to kind of give people a sense for new guests of, quick summary of who you are as a person, but also a little bit about kind of your golf game, what you're working on, kind of if you have any goals for this year. Just kind of throw the keys over to you to talk a little about yourself and give people some context into what you're doing.
Yeah. So I am I'm a designer by trade, but have been golfing for around 10-ish years. Started when I guess was a freshman in high school. Played basketball up until then and wasn't really a golfer, but ended up quitting basketball and got hooked on golf. And I think over the course of those 4 years, probably played a few times each week and just got hooked and got, I'd say, pretty solid pretty quickly. Ended up working at a course and then a couple club fitting shops. And so had access to a lot of practice facilities and just time. And then took a little time off to focus on school, but have kind of come back to it since moving to San Francisco and have gotten hooked over the last 5 or 6 years, however long it's been. Most recently, I've been posting content on Instagram, kind of sharing my journey, trying to get better and get back to a scratch handicap. Also sharing some instructional stuff, helping people get started in golf. Always think with people taking up the game, both people like my wife and just general people, I like helping them get started and learning how to play. And so, yeah, that's kind of the focus of my content. Also just whole vlogs and stuff like that. It's a bit about me.
Yeah, and we'll have to do a whole separate pod with you about, I guess it's just posting good content, but I feel like I got lost in the sauce, right? I met you and, kind of a normal Instagram account, and then I looked up and I'm like, Ben has 15,000 Instagram followers. I don't know. I like the content, but holy shit, talking about how to hashtag grow a brand. Pretty impressive stuff over the course of 9 months?
I started in August, so less than
shit.
that. I think a lot of it's luck. I had a couple of videos kind of get hooked onto the algorithm and just kept getting fed to people over the last 4 months or so. Definitely a lot of luck involved, but I think I found a recipe that worked and just kind of went all in on it, which helped a lot.
Well, when you post songs off Ying Yang Twins mixtapes, that's when I was like, I like his golf stuff, but this guy knows what's up. I'm like, damn, he's playing Suicide Boys. He knows I don't know. As a child of the '90s, I was like, this is working for me. Love Ben's swing, but holy shit, the fact that he picked this in the background is working for me.
I'd say half the time is spent on the video, but the majority of it is spent trying to find the perfect song. So the beat has to drop like just right with the video and the clip switch. So glad to hear that it's resonating.
Yeah, I haven't actually given Jack this feedback with the one just posted. I was like, he played Chris Brown, which I was like, at least he didn't do the Chris Brown vocals. Like Chris Brown, good music, probably not a good guy, but you got to find the sweet spot between picking a banger and also it's like Chris Brown kind of makes my skin curl. But again, we're just using the Chris Brown beat. So, but we're not here to talk about Chris Brown. Ben, because you have never played it before, which is kind of shocking, honestly. Just because I feel like it's such a staple in the community. Why don't you lead us off just talking about your thoughts about playing Golden Gate Park for the first time, which is hopefully, if done right, a lot of people are going to get to experience it for the first time after this restoration. So I think your renovation, whatever the fuck we're calling it these days, but I think your perspective will help people. Like, just talk a little about your experience seeing that place for the first time.
Yeah. So I had been in contact with the people overseeing the project and kind of working at the course, and ended up getting a chance to play it. So I'm really grateful for that. I think I had seen the videos and the photos online, so I was really pumped to see what it was like. It kind of has that, I guess you could call it like modern aesthetic to a course design where it's really rough, a lot of fescue. Was excited about all the undulation and the dryness. I think that because I didn't have any knowledge of what it was like before, I was looking at some of the other short courses that have been done recently, like the Hay and the Cradle, and it kind of has that like, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, like there's some obvious thought and care that went into the design of it, and so was super excited to just get out there and get a chance to experience it with some friends. So yeah, I think when you walk in, it is kind of like an epic unveiling when you come over the hill and you just see the land open up with all these hills and the trees. And I mean, we had an insane day for it. Like, it was super clear. There was no fog and the sun was out. But yeah, I think that like that first peak was probably the coolest part of it. And then the first tee is right there. So you kind of walk right up and you can get going. Or you can, I think the putting green was also pretty large. So a pretty cool area to just hang out and watch people play around. I think you can see 6 holes or something, 6-7 holes just from that spot. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's kind of funny because obviously our experience, the three of us, was having nobody on the golf course, which hopefully never happens again, right? In the sense of hopefully that place is, the heartbeat of our community. But it was pretty crazy to have the whole place to ourselves, and it'll certainly be interesting to get out there because I imagine that place, in a good way, is going to be very, very busy. Aaron, you have played it before, so you have the context of kind of old, scruffy, shaggy, circular green Golden Gate Park versus what it is now. What were kind of your thoughts, especially based off the fact that you've seen it before?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, in terms of, for a reference point for other people, if they're in the area or have played Lincoln, I actually think that the green complexes at Lincoln were a pretty apt comparison for what the greens were prior to the work that's been done. So I was really thoroughly surprised, and I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the improvements that they made. I think, collectively, making some of the greens a little bit more sprawling, adding a little bit more undulation in certain areas that still really fits like the natural land on how these short holes flow together, that I thought makes it much, much more fun. Bigger putting surfaces, oftentimes, especially for beginners, is way more friendly, right? Getting on the green is like the hard part. So when the green is bigger, everybody has a better time. It's a lot of the same shots, but just like the general surrounds, I think it's just like dramatically improved in terms of just playability, the optics of the land that it's on, which is actually a really cool, small little, I don't know how many acres it is. But yeah, first impression, I was like very impressed with, as Ben said, the reveal behind the hill. You can immediately tell if you'd been there before that something had happened to the holes that were there and to the land that was there. So I really enjoyed it.
Was there, I guess my takeaway was how undulating just the entire property is. Like just lots of rolling hills and elevation change. Was that the case before?
I just don't think. I think the big thing is like the comparison I would make is like if you see those like, maybe this is just my algorithm, but if you see like those like barber videos where someone has like long shaggy hair and hasn't got a haircut in like 6 years, and then they get like a really like tight fade, and you're like, whoa, it's like you can see their like bone structure and stuff all of a sudden. That's how it feels, because I don't think they changed anything. I think he said they removed a lot of trees. So I think it was there, and there were definitely shots that were kind of up and down. But I just think that like they took enough out, you could actually see the structure of the course. I don't think they manipulated the ground very much. I just think that via tree removal and also like cutting down the rough, right? Because Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, a big problem with it was like, imagine Harding, but like imagine if the par three was like tee box, some sort of undulation on the ground, but just like thick as fuck wet rough, and then like a kind of circular green, which was small, and so you couldn't actually the structure there. So like it was there, it was just covered in like thick wet rough, and the green were these pretty small circular surrounds, right, Aaron? And so like by removing the trees and also cutting the grass, it allowed the kind of natural landform to appear. Is that right?
Yeah, I would. Everything you said is correct. I would just say that by removing some of the longer grass, some of the trees, it showed the actual like ground flow and landscape that just existed naturally underneath it, right? It becomes more visible more than it was like it wasn't there before. I think it was there before. Obviously, I think a credit to the work as well, right? They say that one of the things that they did is like they really just peeled back like maybe as much as like 2 feet of dirt to expose the underlying sand, which exists basically throughout the first mile and a half of Golden Gate Park. So undoubtedly they did that, and that naturally gives way to just like representing those little waves and valleys that should have already been there a little bit better. So yes to what both of you said. Like it did exist beforehand, it just wasn't showing because of what was there. And probably to some degree, like the resources that they had. You know, it's while it's a very loved public track that lots of like local people go to, it's not exactly like there was an influx of money to allow that to happen. And I think this is just going to show, bar none, how good the land is. People will go there more. People are gonna have the same reaction we have, and you saw it for the first time. You walk over this hill and you go, wow, there's so much of this that's showing. You can see almost all of the holes. It all looks cool. Right? Beginners are going to have that same reaction. Like it looks friendly, but it looks fun, and they just let that shine a little bit more. So,
yeah, and Ben, it's kind of like you said. I think it's an important point in a positive way. Is it really kind of has modeled the template of modern restorations, renovations, in the sense of, again, I know we're a public golf podcast, but the thing it felt to me is like, if you take that place and you put it down adjacent to Lake Merced and call that the Lake Merced 9-hole course, you'd go, yeah, totally. Like you would not even think twice about that being the Lake Merced short course. And that's like the biggest compliment I can give like Golden Gate 9, because like Lake Merced is like, I mean, I played Bandon Trails and loved it last year, but like on the private side, like Lake Merced is probably the coolest course I played last year. Like the course I think most about from last year, and the fact that it's going to be $24 for residents to play on that it's one of those things. I don't mean to gatekeep when I say this, but like 95% of people that play that course have no clue what that place means. Even to like my fiance, like I was like, because I'm known for hyperbole. I came home and I was like, yeah, it's, one of probably going to be one of the best, if not the best, like par 3 course in the world. And she was like, come on. And I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. You can ask my friends. You can ask people who know, like, this is in the upper crust. I haven't played a bunch of them, but yeah, it feels like a Lake Merced par 3 course, which is like the biggest compliment I can give them.
Yeah. And the fact that it's public and if you have a resident card, you can go out and play it for very affordable is even cooler. I think like one thing I was thinking about is when we were talking is similar to like the looks of it, but in the way that it's been sort of like scraped away and cut down makes it very playable. Like you can play it on the ground. It's super dry. You can run everything up. I also think that that same aspect for some reason appeals to people like the three of us. Like we like that look. We like to get creative. You can play it on the ground. You can play it high, and the greens aren't easy. There's a lot of like ridges and slopes, and so it doesn't really matter what your skill level is. Like you can go out there and have a good time. I think that was like my biggest takeaway after playing it.
I was thinking about this a little bit the day after we played there, and partly to what Ashton said, right? In the context of like all of the golf in San Francisco specifically, right? Or like, short radius around it, including private and public. All of those golf courses are known for really interesting land movement, right? Regardless, like Presidio, Harding, people like the land, they like the trees. You go to the private courses, you talk about Lake Merced, you talk about Olympic Club on the side of the hill. I've never played San Francisco Golf Club or Cal, so I can't reference, but from images, similarly so, lots of land movement, variations in how open or closed it is, using the borders of the property in an interesting way. I think that like what I'm most excited about is like you took this cool piece of property and you made it just more interesting by emphasizing what it already was, right? What was already there, which I think, even if you talk about other courses, regardless of condition, right? If you look at Lincoln and you look at Sharp Park as well, everybody still talks about like the land that it's on is really good, right? Regardless of what your, bugaboos about conditions may be. And I think both of them are still fun in their own way. They're good because of that, right? The land movement that's there, the views that you have, the trees that you have. I think it just made it, in a weird way, it made it more representative of the golf that we have in San Francisco, which I think already is like a privilege that we have so much good golf, public and otherwise, around us. I don't know. It just felt like it took away the duvet and just was like, yeah, this is what it is. Like there's no more soft pillows over this. It's just, this is what the land probably would have looked like if they didn't cover it in like 2 feet of dirt when the park became more developed over time. So I don't know. I love the land there. I thought that was just, they did such a good job in shining the flashlight on what was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still excited about it.
Well, and the other thing too is like I'm hopeful that for people like our fiancés and wives and newcomers to the game, I'm hopeful that at some point they fall in love with the game, that they want to go to Golden Gate Park to play golf. But the other thing that's important to note is there was a lot of tree removal done on property, which kind of frees up things for the golf. But the thing that I've thought most about afterwards is like when you're standing on 2T, which essentially is also 5T, if you turn around on 2T, you can literally now, that you could not do before, you can actually see the Pacific Ocean. Like straight up, you have it's not like kind of there, like at Poppy Hills, where like you're on 3 at Poppy Hills being like, I think that's the ocean. Not, you can kind of see it at the football field, but you actually see a big chunk of the Pacific Ocean, which is amazing. And then you get to 8, which Ben will talk about later, and like you're literally looking at like the Cliff House. Like you have this like beautiful vantage point of the Cliff House. And so it's one of those things where, I feel like the unofficial tagline of our podcast is it's about the golf, but it's not about the golf. And Golden Gate Park to me is like the embodiment of that. Because like again, I hope Liz wants to be like, God, I just want to go hit, driver on number 6 or something like that. But it might start with like, hey, they have a really nice clubhouse and I really like to putt on the putting green, and they have like a local beer. We talked to the guy who's helping us, and they're gonna have a big focus on kind of like local food and beverage, and like you're gonna get to go, see the sunset and like see the cliff house, and like realistically, those are the things that are gonna get their claws into people, and then they're gonna be like, oh, but this is also really fun, and hey, you know what? I can hit a 62-yard shot. Can't go play Harding from the back. Can't even go play Harding from the front. Like Liz has so much anxiety about like she doesn't have the distance for it to be fun. But at Golden Gate Park, she can. But it's going to start with the local Chardonnay, or it's going to start with the fact that she can see the cliff house, and then eventually it's probably going to be like, and then I want to practice my 30-yard chip shot, right, or something like that. But that's how it should be, right? It's like Chris talks a lot about how golf is so fucked in instruction because it should be taught green to tee, not tee to green. And just because of the length of these holes and the options they're going to have, it's almost going to start at the clubhouse, it's going to start at the bar and grill and then work its way back to the tee in a way that's going to be very, very friendly and fun and accessible and affordable. All the issues we have with like golf being so gatekeepy, like there's nothing gatekeepy about Golden Gate Park.
And Ashton, to that point, they've added another putting green. So originally there was only one practice green on the side of the property or next to the clubhouse, or what was left of the clubhouse at the time that I played it. It was a little trailer. Now they've added a whole another, what will really could be like 4 or 5 holes on like a small putting course for people to do exactly what you just talked about. Just start at the green and then get interested in hitting shots. And like, that's doing it right? Like, hey, come for the wine, come for a drink, go get hookfish, and then come get a beer, right? And then all of a sudden you go, well, I've got a putter in the car. Like, why don't we just putt while we have our beer? Of course. That's what that's there for, right? Oh, this looks interesting. Wow, that's really pretty. Then you go, Liz, Charlotte, Ben, I'm forgetting your partner's name. Let's go onto the tee box. Let's go onto 6 tee box or 7 tee box, and let me try and show you this view. Right? Like those are things that people can appreciate regardless of golf. So it's a great example of your tagline there.
And the putting green is going to be free, right? It's like Chris has talked to Akbar, who runs Seamus, and a project that Akbar has been working on for 20 years that doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. But he's been trying to start off by just putting one big like Himalaya style putting green in downtown Portland, because he's like kind of like Bandon style, because he's like, you guys have no idea what this is going to do for the community. Make it free, but then, charge people for, like at Bandon, right? Like a beer is $8, mixed drinks, 12. People are going to hang out there, and you're just going to make like, $30 a head for people to putt for free. It's going to get people to fall in love with golf. It's going to be a kind of a safe heartbeat for the community. And it's also going to be a profit center, because realistically, if you hire a decent shaper and a backhoe, I mean, I don't know how long it takes to make a green, but like, that's probably not that long or that expensive a project, right? And this is our first foray, to your point, Aaron, into having that, right? But it's great that you have not 1 putting green, not 2 putting green, but also 9 holes. And again, also too, if people, the reason why we love Soul Park so much is, when you go to their bar and grill, there's so many people having dinner there who are clearly locals who don't even play golf. I think Golden Gate Park's going to be similar, right? People like walking through and being like, what's that? Oh, there's a fire pit. Oh, sorry, I don't know if there's a fire pit, so don't hold me to that. But they should put a fire pit, right? And suddenly people are hanging out. So, I keep saying this, but I really think it's going to be like a community center there. We saw it with 0 people. And it's just like, if this place isn't a community center for San Francisco, I don't know what we're doing. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, Aaron and I were just at Corica this morning, and it was raining, so no one was there. But Corica comes to mind. Like, they've got the cafe and bar and grill, and it's always crowded with like families and little kids who obviously aren't there for playing golf. And when I moved here and I went there and played for the first time, I was blown away at how cool that was and like just that concept. I hope that they do something similar. Obviously, that we weren't able to see what the plans were for the clubhouse, but sort of a like indoor, outdoor, like all tied together, like clubhouse, putting green with music, music and drinks and food would be really cool. And you'd have foot traffic coming through the park because there's
Exactly.
I think there's like a garden right there or something. So there's going to be a lot of people walking around Ocean Beach who could wander in and check it out too.
Yeah. I am curious. This isn't on the agenda, and I know this is going to be kind of steering the conversation a little bit of a different place, but what do you guys think are going to be, like, having seen it, what do you think the possibility is that the San Francisco Parks Department sees the hopeful success of this and starts to actually put money into other courses? I don't even want to fucking talk about Sharp Park because I can't do it right now. I don't have it in me. But like a better example is probably Lincoln, right? Like, God, like I think my idea for Lincoln has been turn Lincoln into, again, a gigantic putting green. Tell an architect to make all the holes they can, like make it a 12-hole course, put a driving range, a 12-hole course, and a Himalaya-style putting green. Because look, I'm not trying to be that guy, but especially after Golden Gate Park, and Juan, I'm really sorry because I know this is like your favorite place in the world. But if Golden Gate Park is going to be right there and be 9 holes, like make 12 holes that's more of like a quote unquote like real golf course, maximize the land. As we know, unfortunately, driving ranges are huge revenue boons, and then also a Himalaya style putting green. But even if they decide just to redo it, do you think this is going to increase the possibility of the city actually investing in other golf courses that it owns?
It's a really good question. I've always been of the opinion that municipal land that is used for a golf course should be treated as if it truly was a park, right? The goal is, if a park, most municipalities expect to lose money on parks, right? They maintain it. It costs money to water. They have to upkeep that land. Exactly. And booking parks or booking courts normally isn't something that's going to allow you to break even. Golf courses, I think, are in this odd intersection where, for some reason, because elsewhere it can be a business model, it's often treated as if it should be breaking even or really kind of a profit center. I think this may actually allow it to do that. When you think about the other things that we just talked about that make it attractive to go to without even playing golf, I think that that'll make it really an asset. Now, I can't speak as to whether it'll allow them to revitalize other courses. I think Golden Gate is somewhat unique in the way that they've approached this and the setup that they have, right? Really almost like if you were just doing it by surface area or land in the property, probably like 10 or 15% of the property is golf related, including the clubhouse, but is not actually golf course, right? You've the 2 practice greens, your clubhouse, your parking lot. I don't know if if the city or, looking at courses like Lincoln, looking at, you could name even like Glen Eagles as an example there. I don't know if it would work quite as well, but I do think maybe in the case of Glen Eagles, the land is really interesting. You're in a neighborhood, right? There's a communal aspect already built into that golf course. Lincoln is next to a neighborhood, but also kind of the last northern piece before you're over, almost like China Beach. It's possible. I don't know if others will embrace the social components that aren't golf focused in order for the city to recognize that. But I think it's possible. And I don't say that lightly, because I think a lot of golf courses think that they're doing what Golden Gate Park is going to try and do, and don't really end up doing it. Right. And I think we really have to lean into, and I want to contribute through my presence, right? Go there and enjoy it in the way that we're talking about enjoying it. But I think if they really lean into, like, play the music, let people drink beers outside, let people have light food fare and let people, take drinks onto
This
the
isn't
practice greens and
serious.
stuff like
This
that.
isn't serious.
Like, people will enjoy that. So I do think it's possible. I don't think in most cases when courses do that, it's probable, but I'm very cautiously optimistic that this will be something that the city sees and goes, maybe we should invest a little bit more in maybe not even the land itself that the other public courses occupy, but like the community aspects of this land that people appreciate. I think shifting your perspective from golf is a profit center, we should make money and not lose money on golf, to this is a park, this is a place for the community, this is a place for people to walk their dog and sit outside and enjoy with the same intention that Golden Gate Park was initially created, the entirety of the park, not just the 9 holes. All of a sudden you start to shift it towards, it doesn't actually matter if it's a profit center and successful in that regard. It really just matters that the community seems to be enjoying it, right? Then that's money well spent by the city. So,
yeah,
fingers
What
crossed,
do you
Ashton.
think? Yeah.
I mean, I think I'd agree with a lot of Aaron's points.
That was very
I don't really
eloquent.
know. Yeah, I don't know what else I'd add to that. I think that
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
How dare you make such an eloquent, thoughtful point?
But
no, I mean, I think that's a perspective that I didn't know, like I agreed with or even had, is like their parks, their municipal golf courses are parks. They're for the community. I think I'm just excited to see like what it turns into, I guess, and where they can take it and where maybe how the community embraces it. Like, will there be dogs on the course? Will do kids come out? Is it like sixums and there's like 3 kids in the group, right? Like, what does the day look like there? I think that's what I'm excited to see. Because I've only played Lincoln once. I've played Sharp once. I have not played Glen Eagles, but those feel more like serious, not serious courses, but like people are going to like play golf. Maybe they don't want to go to Presidio or Harding. Whereas I feel like Golden Gate, it's for beginners. It's for people who are newer to the game or people who just like want to have fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's different goals for each course.
Ben, I might actually, I'll make a reference that I think in some aspects could be kind of similar, because I know you were in San Diego for a little while. Did you go to Goat Hill at all?
I haven't been to Goat Hill. Have you been to the Loma Club?
Yes. We talked about Loma or is it Point Loma, or Loma is different? Loma Club is different.
I think the area is Point Loma, and then there's like the Loma Club is like the golf course. But I was gonna bring that up, but I didn't know if anyone would get the reference. They also have a putting green, so it's like an outdoor mall, right? It's like a big plaza with grocery stores, movie theaters, and like shopping. And in the middle of it all, there's a putting green, and then you cross this like circular driveway, and there's putt, I think hitting nets, and then a 9-hole like par 3 course, and it's packed. There's so many people there.
That's what I'm envisioning it could be, right? I used to go there specifically. I used to go and watch basketball games there. Like, shout out to a good memory. I watched Game 7 of the Celtics beat the Heat very late, but like fried chicken sandwiches, beer, French fry, like things like that. What's it called? Fish and chips. Like, being able to just go there and enjoy those things, get people interested in the golf. You know what I mean? Like, those areas were busy before the golf course is busy, right? Like, you could go there and play 9 holes and it could be really fast, or you go do this other thing and it's almost always crowded, right? Getting a beer or just sitting there, and that's a much better example than Goat Hill.
It makes me think this is, I hope that this, I'm going to try and connect this metaphor back, but I hope that it can do what Topgolf did, in the sense that whenever my wife and I go home for Christmas, her dad, my father-in-law, he doesn't play golf, but he wants to go to Top Golf every time we go home, right? And it's so different than golf that anyone can like have fun with it. But it's the like being with like friends and family, having the food, the drinks that like make it fun. And I think it would be cool if like Golden Gate was able to do that, but like in the city, and just be more of like a recreational, like it's golf, but it's not really like it's golf is the like the under like the theme.
It's like golf adjacent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think that one thing that I think, Aaron, you said that I really liked was, or maybe it's Ben, it's one of the two of you, just like lean into the unseriousness of this, if that makes sense. Like, this is a weird example, but like I'm going to Sand Valley this summer with a group of guys, and I know one of the guys really well. He's my buddy Levi, but most of these people I do not know. And their sandbox is the par 3 course at Sand Valley. And whenever this group goes, they have what they call, I just learned about this morning, Jersey Day on the par 3 course, where everyone wears like their favorite, Randy Moss, Barry Sanders, any sport, doesn't matter, right? And some people were like, is this okay? Can I have cutoffs? They're like, it's totally fine. Right? Like, yes, like we've done this before. It doesn't matter. Right? So like, I don't know that we're going to have a 20-some, but there's going to be like 20 of us in sports jerseys at a like very, I mean, a serious golf course in the sense of like, like Mike Kaiser, you must walk, there's these rules, but like, if you can do that at Sand Valley, I sure as fuck hope that the three of us could be like, you know what? Yeah, we're all going to wear like whatever our equivalent of, Jersey Day is. Like, I certainly hope that would be okay and allowed. The other thing, ironically, that I hope they lean into is, Aaron, I don't know if you remember this, but I've actually only played the old Golden Gate Park once, but I remember there was a sign near the cash register that really stuck with me. And it was like on a little piece of paper, but basically it was like, hey, as far as like pace of play, like it's like,
yeah,
course is not like, it's not going to be fast because there's a bunch of people who like don't really know how to play golf. So that's kind of the thing, is like, we always bang on pace of play, right? But it's more of like, well, you know what? Like, this isn't really the place to go and like, can we hurry the fuck up? Like, that's not really like what it's about. Like, if there's somebody, like, if it's Liz in the group ahead of me, I hope people would be like understandable and like, just like, you not being an asshole about her letting her finish the hole and do this is actually really important for her like enjoyment of this, right? So I'm not saying let's all, be hoodlums and play super slow, but I'm not saying that, right? Like, be respectful of the course, fix your ball marks, but like, yeah, man, like, just kind of like take your time and enjoy yourself and have some food and drink. And you want to wear a Shrek costume or a fucking Lionel Messi jersey, it doesn't matter. We don't need, we just don't need all the pomp and circumstance in a place like this, because to your point, Aaron, it's really like a net community good, and it's less like, this is a fucking golf course, right? Like, and that's why these par 3 courses at, at Bandon and stuff are so great. Like, when we went to Bandon last year, all 8 of us played together, right? It was like, it's not serious. Like, we all kind of wanted to play together and hit shots and see stuff. That's what it was about. It wasn't about like, well, who won? What did you shoot? What did you post? I have no fucking idea.
Right.
I know I had a bunch of shanks, but that's a separate conversation. But, like, that's the point of it. So I just really hope they embrace that component of it. And I think that will actually help with everything. And, ultimately, unfortunately, probably from the revenue perspective, because I will say, we probably should have said this earlier, I just want to take my hat off to like San Francisco Parks and Rec for doing this, because when I heard this, I was like, they're not going to spend $1.5 million on this. Like, that's not a real story. Like, this is not happening.
I thought it was totally like a joke.
Wrong.
I
Totally
thought it
wrong.
was actually a joke. Like, I thought this was going to happen, and then it was going to close, and then it was going to turn into something else. That was my initial reaction when this was announced. I was like, this is a joke. This will fall apart. And then the fact that this came through, and frankly came through so good, is really impressive. But to your point about that sign, yes, it's about matching expectations going in. Don't show up and act like you're at Augusta, right? That's what that sign is basically saying. Like, chill out, right? Know where you are, right? And I hope they, in many other ways, continue to set expectations in that sense.
Yeah, it's no different than, I mean, one of my other favorite things is like when you go play, the only two places I've seen this, but I know this is other places, but like Rustic Canyon. I remember the first time we played there, we called and got one of the first tee times off, and the guy was like, yeah, sure, man. Like, yeah, happy to move you up. He's like, do you know our policy about the first hour? We're like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, he's like, there are pace setter tee times. You guys set the pace for the day. We're going to like monitor you on the fourth hole. And if you guys are way behind, we're going to pull you off the golf course. Like, period. And I was like, oh. He's like, yeah. He's like, we just cannot have somebody. We just can't have. If we're gonna let you go off early and basically have the golf course to yourself, we cannot have you playing in 4 hours and 45 minutes because the whole tee sheet is going to be a mess. And I was like, huh. I'd never heard of that at the time, but I was like, that makes a lot of sense, right? So it was one of those where like, if you hit it in Rusted Canyon, there's like just like shrubbery and shit everywhere. It's like if you hit in there, it's like just drop. Like we're we're not being unserious, but like we're not going to have like it's been 3 minutes. Like just let's keep it going because we got it. It's respectful to the whole golf course. It's the same idea of expectation setting where if you want to come grind and have I gotta be out of here in an hour, then like I don't know this is the best place for you because this is again about. It's about people falling in love with the game and enjoying themselves and not about like, okay, like, just pick it up. It's like, I don't know, like, hate to be this way, but like, Liz probably wants to see the ball go in the hole. Give her like 10 extra seconds to like make her a 3-footer, right? Like, we'll get out of the way. We're not going to be a dick, but like,
I do think,
do what they got to do.
And this kind of ties to a concern of mine, actually, and probably my only concern is kind of what you described, right? Talking about a course like, oh, you just said the name. I'm sorry. What's in LA? Rustic Canyon. That place is like a golf factory, right?
Yes,
there
it is.
Always people playing. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody playing down there. I've only played there once, and it's always busy. Yeah. Rounds can get really slow. Not that, again, it being slow should be a major concern if you're playing Golden Gate Park. Yeah. But I do hope that, and firstly, I'm still very grateful that we got to go. I do hope that this kind of social media preview play, they seem to be pushing it pretty hard out into the golf community, which I think in some ways is great because I think more of these projects should exist. What I hope doesn't happen is everybody and their mother decides to come in a sense that kind of takes away from some of the communal aspect and makes it crowded in a sense that's not manageable to have that communal and fun and unserious component about the golf course that, talking about Sand Valley or the Preserve or, the putting course at Bandon. Like I grew up, there were like 2 par 3 golf courses near me where they grew up. They were a little bit more golf course than they were communal space, but they were unserious. You expect to see kids, you expect to see beginners out there. And I hope that we don't increase the volume of play such that some of that. So that would be my one concern. It's like we seem to be pushing it really hard, which as a project I think is correct, and we should see more of this in golf. But I don't want us to lose the integrity of like what the real intention of improving this space for the community is. So yeah, that's my one concern, and I think it's a valid critique of maybe protecting the space as well.
I would say two things. One thing that I don't see anywhere, but I think should happen, because you guys know. I mean, you guys know better than anybody. How I bang on about Presidio and the race and stuff. Like, as I've said on the podcast, you're talking to the person who got them to change their website over here because I made them so their website wasn't right. God, I fucking hate the mandatory cart fee. But preferential, like a certain block of tee times every day that are for residents, and you have to show not a residence card, but you have to show in some like, cool, From 10 to 12, it's San Francisco locals, and you have to show them that you are a local. That's one. And two, just don't stack the tee sheet. Like, just don't stack the tee sheet. Do tee times every 12 minutes. I don't know. I know it's a short course, but like, you just don't, like, that's one thing during COVID. It just keeps getting tighter. It's like, we're down to like 8 minutes in some places. It's like, I mean, like, what do you think is going to happen when you're doing 9:07, 9:14, 9:21? Like, it's just going to stack up. So would be great if, they're giving us a great rate, which I have no clue what the non-resident rate is, but if they said there was a specific chunk of tee times for people who could prove they were locals, and just spreading the tee shot a little bit, because it's not about charging $24 for local residents is telling us, to your point, Aaron, it's not about the dollar. So if it's not about the dollar, give us a couple extra minutes to breathe, so that I'm not like walking up one and people are like right there, right? Because we're going to be all over each other. You're going to feel it so much more if everybody's right there, because there's some holes where you share tee boxes. There's some holes where you share greens. If you overstack it, it's just going to get out of control. But I'm hopeful. They've done everything right so far. And again, I give them so much credit that this even happened. So we'll put good juju out there and hope for the best. But as we get out of here, I thought we're not going to give y'all a blow by blow, but I thought we could each take one hole that we particularly enjoyed. We did make the joke ahead of time, which I'll only say once, that like they all could have been our favorite holes. But I thought we could just go around and talk about the holes that have stuck with us the most. And then we'll encourage people to stop listening to us and get out there. But Ben, tell us a little bit about hole number, I got this wrong, hole number 8. I got this wrong in the sheet. Tell us a little about hole number 8, Ben.
Yeah, I love short par threes, and at Golden Gate everything's a short par three, but I think hole 8 was the shortest of them all. I want to say it was like 87 yards, playing downhill. So I don't know what the actual number was, but it was very short. But the green was...
I guess we should give caveat. We didn't have scorecards, and like the tee boxes were more suggestions, so whatever we're going to say distance-wise is probably not what you're going to experience.
So you're tucked back in this like alcove of trees, and you're looking out, like Ashton said, directly over to like the Cliff House and the baths, or I guess Land's End area. And so the view is really cool, and you can kind of see the property in front of you as well. But the green is like 89 yards away, and it's pretty shallow, made even shallower by the shelf that kind of is on the back of it. So there's, I don't know, it's like a 5-yard like lead, like 5-yard shelf, and then and then it ducks down to like a front that's maybe 3 to 4 yards. So very like skinny, narrow green, or shallow green. And then directly beyond the green, and when we played it where the flag was, is this huge waste bunker that has all types of undulation and trees in it. And so while it's the shortest hole in the property, you really have to be on it with your distance. I flew the green and ended up in the waste bunker. But it is, and then there's no way to stop the ball coming back if you're hitting back to that pin that's in the back. So just thought it was a really cool hole because of how short it was, but it wasn't by no means a walk in the park. We all tried to putt the ball off the tee box onto the green because it was so short, but I don't think it was quite dry enough to do that yet. But I think, August or late summer, early fall, you might be able to roll it up there, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one. There are a lot of crazy greens out there, but that one is really asking you a very specific question. So you better have good distance control. Aaron, tell us a little bit about number 6 up the hill.
Yeah. So to my best recollection, formerly the first hole, I really just like the improvements around the green, I think are pretty outstanding. It used to be kind of sheltered in by the banks of a hill that were heavily, covered in long grass and bushes, and that is almost all gone. They've extended the green kind of up to the edges of that hill and turned the rest of into really kind of a waste bunker. I think both Ben and I shot, and I don't think we hit them necessarily that well, came back from the edge of the green a little bit. I assume because beginning stages of the draft being there, like that'll only get better over time. But um, yeah, just the work that they did around that green that didn't even look like the same shot that you're hitting into the hole. It just, yeah, I think it's a good hole. It's like, it's a big green, so you can move it all around, which I think is like a trademark of good par threes. You can put them in different spots. You can play it off the banks and all of those things. I just thought they did such a good job on the green and around the green that, like, that was I don't know if that's the best hole, but that was, in my opinion, I think that's the best hole, my favorite.
Yeah. And I'll talk about number two. Candidly, I probably would have picked number 7, but we didn't want to go 6, 7, 8 here. But I think we'd be lying if we said that that wasn't kind of the crescendo of the golf course. But 2 is similar in the sense that I think the reason I wanted to talk about 2 is, 1 is kind of just up the hill. But 2 is really, I think, where you really get perspective because, 2 kind of goes into the back part of the property. You have about a wedge in your hand, but or again, going back to the common theme here, kind of a crazy green where like the day we played it, the pin was kind of up on a knob where like you literally had like a 3, 4, 5 yard window to hit it. Short is coming all the way down. Long is going to be long. It really asks you to hit a very specific shot, which you had a wedge, but like, you still got to hit the shot. But I think the reason it really stood out to me was, at that point, if you look to your right, you're looking at 7. If you flip around, you're basically on 5T and you're kind of looking out at the Pacific Ocean. If you look to the left, you're looking at kind of 4 green, and 4 green is really fun because people can really kind of spin shots down the hill. And so I think that's kind of where, if I analogize, I mean, a round of golf is kind of like a roller coaster anyway. But literally, like number 1, you're kind of going, you're starting off, you go up, and then kind of 2 is kind of where you're at the top of the roller coaster being like, okay, like this is what this ride is going to look like. And 2 kind of gives you that perspective while also asking you to hit a pretty challenging wedge, as my dad would say, kind of onto the hood of a VW bug, which is, which is kind of fun and thrilling. But yeah, they're all really great holes, like kind of both Ben and Aaron have said. Extremely accessible. Most holes you can putt, you could hit a bump and run hybrid. Like, you're going to have a ton of options, whether you're brand new to the game or you're a really good player. It's going to be great. So, I mean, again, we don't yet know when it's going to open, but I know that, like, Liz asked me once a week, hey, do you have a date yet? Like, we've been looking for a venue to go play golf, and she asked me once a week about Golden Gate Park. So we're really hopeful that this goes as well as it seems. Really hopeful that the city can use this as a springboard to other stuff. But again, I'm not going to push that too much. We're very grateful this happened. Cannot wait, and we're very optimistic about this being a big part of our community and a place I know the 3 of us, with our partners, will end up spending a bunch of time. So, do either one of you have any kind of closing thoughts, or did we cover it? I think we got most of it.
I think the only thing I'd like to see is, let's get some of the locals that were, in the community, some of that preview play as well. I'd love to see, used all my eloquent words earlier. I'd love to see some people in the community and what their initial reaction to that space is. Because I know that there's a lot of people that live very near there that might only or might mostly play golf because of Golden Gate's existence there. And that might be the place where they play the most. So I'd really like to see some of their feedback. So I hope in some way, Golden or the city or whoever can give some preview play to some of those folks as well.
Yeah. Been any parting thoughts?
No. Just I was trying to think through how you can keep times available for the community. Just trying to think through ideas. Just
I don't have a great answer, but I think that would be something people would appreciate.
But even like a month or 2 of just like city residents or like locals, like a soft opening just for people in the area would be super cool. Just to give everyone a chance to get out and try it, even as a way to like learn golf. You do a big opening, have like rental clubs there, so you don't even have to bring your clubs. Like just almost make it like a party for people.
It's a great idea. Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, Ben, I know you took a lot of, we're going to post some of it, but I know you took a lot of great footage. So where can people find you on Instagram to kind of, when you eventually post kind of your Golden Gate Park stuff, where can people find you?
Yeah, it's just my name. So Ben and then KOLDE is my @ on Instagram. It's just that, no _golf, no nothing. Super simple.
There you go. Well, perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Like I said, it looks like the rain hopefully is done for us. So I look forward to getting out with you guys soon once this place dries up, and we'll be out at Golden Gate Park soon. Okay?
Thanks, buddies.
All right.